This is a production of Off the Hook Sports with Dave Hooker.
Well, you got former basketball Vol Grant Balls lighting it up for the Celtics, and I'm a Celtics fan. I'm actually wearing my game shorts right now. And you've got a baseball team that's red hot, but we're going to talk about football right here with Chris Landry of LandryFootball.com. You will know more about football if you go check out ChrisLandry.com. And it's brought to you today by Steve Ray's Midnight Oil. And I had a opportunity to sit in with him at his Owl's Nest barbecue location, and it was just unbelievable. He's officially my go-to mechanic at Steve Ray's Midnight Oil. He got me a new set of tires, but the barbecue's certainly a passion of love. And we made some hot dogs and brats and the whole 9 yards, and it was absolutely, and I'm a brat snob, the best brat I've ever had. So he's got all the rubs, he's got everything you need, and he's got the grill that I'm about to invest in that is top-notch pellet grills. You get the smoky flavor without all the mess of charcoal and electric. So Owl's Nest Barbecue in Ottawa, Owl's Nest Barbecue in Ottawa. Go to owlsnestbbq.com. And Steve, whether it's your car or whether it happens to be going and getting the best rub in the biz, you can go for it. I sent you a picture, Chris. We were doing the Zatarans. I was eating brats at 9:30 in the morning on Saturday. How sweet is that?
That was great. No, I saw that. We use that a lot. That's a great spicy mustard. That's the only thing I use on sandwiches. I don't use the regular mustard or mayonnaise. I use Steve Rub, the Grilling Addiction, one of the 4 rubs I have. I did 2 things. I grilled some wings, which I'm not a big wings guy, but I wanted to do some grilled, smoked wings rather. And so I did that on Saturday, but Sunday, I made a brisket.
Oh.
And it was really, really good. So eat on that a little bit. All they can get me was 11 pounders. So I cut it into quarters and, to fit it in, I got a small smoker, but I put that rub in really good and let it 24 hours and that rub sink in, and I put it in. Man, it was good. Brisket is, you got not a lot of fat on it, and but you let it slow cook, and that rub is just unbelievable. I'm addicted to it. It's I put it on everything. I had some grilled vegetables, I guess you call it, the zucchini, the squash, the red onions, the different bell peppers, and I just had that with the brisket. But I put a different type of I put the pecan roasted rub on that. You don't even need to use it. The rub, you can use it as a instead of using salt or pepper, because it flavors everything. A little olive oil. I put that on the grill. I had all the grilled onions and stuff, vegetables with the brisket. So it was outstanding, and so I've got to do some extra exercise work. I may go walk a few holes on the golf course this afternoon because of that great rub and what it's done to my appetite now.
Yeah, you're getting me hungry. Actually, we're pulling out the smoker for the food prep today because I was lazy over the weekend. So going tenderloin, chicken thighs, and more, and it's all thanks to that rub that they have at Owl's Nest Barbecue. So I know it's going to be through the roof. So my good friend Mark Nagy, and he writes for Saturday Down South, as I do from time to time. He went through and he had the 7 way too early predictions for Tennessee offense in 2022. And Mark knows, and I know, and great people at Saturday Down South know that this is a conversation starter. So while we might not agree with each and every one, it certainly gets the ball rolling, as here we are just around the corner to SEC Media Days. So number 1, he had Hendon Hooker will be one of the SEC's most efficient quarterbacks. So I'm going to get you to agree or disagree. Chris, I agree statistically. I don't think he's an elite passer in terms of accuracy, but I do believe because of what Josh Heupel runs, he'll have receivers running open. He completed 68.2% of his passes. I know that sounds crazy for me to say a guy's not incredibly accurate, but I'm going to stand by that. So Most efficient, I'm going to give that a check mark. Yes. And the reason is I don't think he has a habit of turning the ball over. 31 to 3 touchdown passes. And we mentioned the 68%. Will he be one of the most efficient passers in the SEC in 2022?
Well, I think you got to define efficiency, and I
Right.
think I know what he's talking about because there's different ways to be efficient. Efficiency in running your offense is the most important thing, and I think what he means in terms of passing efficiency, which is what most people think about when they talk about it. And yes, in fact, I'll say that if Josh Heupel's coaching there for the next 8 years, that 5 or 6 out of the next 8 years, not even knowing who the quarterback's going to be, they'll be likely, if not the most efficient, in the top 2 or 3 every year because of the style of their offense. As you mentioned, they create with timing, with the speed and the tempo between snaps, and they scheme guys open very well. With that, it's going to be easier to play quarterback, and a lot of it is downfield, but a lot of it's short too. So, in terms of passing efficiency, and it's to me, it's more accuracy percentage, not completion percentage. But most people look at efficiency as completion percentage. Should be the highest completion percentage quarterback, and for number of yards and the touchdown to turnover ratio will be good. So yes, I absolutely think it'll be, and it should be because of their style is better. I mean, Bryce Young may be the better guy, but they attack a little differently, and it's a little bit more difficult for a quarterback, but yet a more balanced offense in Alabama, whereas at Tennessee is built towards everything towards the offense, everything towards quarterback friendly. So it should be, and I think probably will be the most efficient.
Jabari Small will rush for over 1,100 yards this season.
Well, he should. Again, with this style and being able to run the football with a lot of spacing, it's a lot different than running the football in Alabama's offense or Georgia's offense or Kentucky's offense. A lot of spacing there. A lot of sometimes 5.5, 6-man boxes. I mean, that's pretty easy. Dave, you could get 4 yards a carry doing that. I mean, coming off the couch. So, yeah, he absolutely should, and I think he's got some make-you-miss ability, the spurt ability to get some big plays. So I think that absolutely. The only thing I would say is, can he stay healthy? And Jalen Wright and Whitehead, I think you'll see some guys that they will rotate in there, but I think there's a really good chance that, certainly in that 1,000, I don't know what you said, 1,000 yards or 1,100, 1,200. I think that is certainly within range.
Cedric Tillman leads the SEC in receiving. That's pretty strong.
Yeah, and, again, I think that if you're talking yards, it should be. If you're talking average yards per completion, probably not as much, but he's really an outstanding weapon. He's definitely the go-to guy there. Now, I think the key for him is to have help where he can get the safety moved over to the other receiver a little bit, because right now everything's sliding towards him. So I will say this. With having another guy, the one thing that will maybe reduce the chances of this mark being held is overplaying him, and that's going to create opportunities for other guys. So maybe, and this is a good thing for Tennessee, maybe you'll see less yardage from him in relation to the other guys on the team. The overall yardage in the passing game with the top 2-3 receivers may be more evenly balanced. That would be a good thing for Tennessee, not in terms of reaching these numbers, but I think it's definitely possible he's that good.
Well, it kind of leads us to another one. As a matter of fact, I want to be sure and mention this is brought to you by Alice Nest Barbecue, your one-stop shop for all of your barbecue supply needs right there in Ottawa. And don't forget, Steve Ray's Midnight Oil can take care of your vehicle, a proud Michelin distributor. But that does lead us to another one that's slightly related into what the receivers will do. The tight ends will grow in the offense. I could really see that happening because if I'm Josh Heupel and I step in year one, maybe I'm not as sure what I have from the tight ends, but I know how my offense can benefit a quarterback and receiver. So I could definitely see the tight ends role growing this year.
Absolutely. And that's part of, okay, let's go back to the previous where Tillman affects Tillman. Maybe it's less targets, but more big plays, because when you can work the tight ends down the seam, then it holds the safeties a little bit longer, and it requires the linebacker to get more depth. So what does that do? Okay, this is just kind of part of it. That means bigger plays from the outside receivers because you've got more man coverage and more run threat. So to tie this into the previous two discussions, it opens up the offense that much more. The run game success and the outside perimeter big play success. So even though the attempts and you don't have to work the short passing game as much, but you got more big plays in the passing game, more short passing game with the outside receivers is what I'm saying. So maybe you see less screens. So I think it's a real positive if these tight ends grow on the offense, and I think it's going to be a positive for the big plays if they're able to do that effectively.
Here's a very quantitative one, and I'll leave you with this. Again, Chalk Talk brought to you by Allison's Barbecue and our friend Steve Ray at Midnight Oil, and they are a proud Michelin distributor. But the Vols will surpass 2021 scoring of 39.3 points per game.
You know what?
That's a lot.
It's a lot. But I was looking at this. It's a very easy schedule. I mean, it's you fall out of bed and you got, 5 wins without. I mean, there's a whole bunch of points. I mean, Ball State, Pitt's rebuilding. Not a bad team, though, on the road. Ball State, Akron, UT Martin, Vanderbilt. Just throw those 4 there. I mean, you should average 55 points a game in those games. Now, South Carolina, which people are high on, and I do think Spencer Rattler is going to be a positive addition. But South Carolina and Missouri, to me, are not as good as, Missouri wasn't very good last year. People were excited about South Carolina. I think it's going to be a lot tougher for South Carolina to go from there. People think, you win 4 or 5 games, that, 7 or 8 is next. I think it's going to be a slower growth for them. In other words, I don't think South Carolina and Missouri are all that good. Vanderbilt, certainly not. You got, to me, 7 wins against teams, with the one exception of Pittsburgh, with some good defensive players. You got a lot of chance to score a whole bunch of points, and you're getting a down by their standards. I mean, I think Florida and LSU in 3 years is probably going to be a notch above Tennessee. Right now, both of those in a rebuilding year. So you're catching Florida and LSU in the right time if you're Tennessee. You're probably not going to, may not have a chance to score as many points against those 2 as the ones I've mentioned, and in Kentucky. But I think the schedule's favorable. I think they score more than 30. I think they score probably, I would say, 42 to 45 points per game based upon their success, but relative to their schedule. That's a big part of it. I know the average is going to come down against Georgia and Alabama. And maybe a little bit against Kentucky. And LSU's defensive front's no joke. I think they average in the low 40s, Dave.
Wow. It's a lot of points. That is Chalk Talk. We'll talk to you next week. Brought to you by Owl's Nest Barbecue and Steve Ray's Midnight Oil, a proud Michelin distributor. So we will talk to you next week. A lot of points, 42 to 45. For Chris Landry, go to LandryFootball.com. Learn more about football. You will blow your friends away. Dave Hooker. We'll talk to you next week.